Is Donald Trump's face going to be added to Mount Rushmore? I know this seems like an insane question, but I want to highlight something a Florida Republican congresswoman did on Tuesday because I think it's indicative of sort of the broader and best way to understand the current Republican Party, less as a political party and more as a cult of personality. Okay, so Anna Paulina Luna, who is a Republican member of Congress from Florida, very Trumpy. On Tuesday, she introduced legislation in Congress to add Donald Trump to George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Abraham Lincoln, Theodore Roosevelt at Mount Rushmore in South Dakota. All right, let me read what she said. President Trump's bold leadership and steadfast dedication to America's greatness have cemented his place in history. Mount Rushmore, a timeless symbol of our nation's freedom and strength, deserves to reflect his towering legacy, a legacy further solidified by the powerful start to his second term. He will be forever remembered among the greats like Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Lincoln, and Roosevelt. Okay, now, first and foremost, this is going nowhere, okay? I think it's important to note that. I don't think that Donald Trump I don't think this legislation is going to pass. Even if it does, I don't think Donald Trump is going to be added to Mount Rushmore, and I'll tell you why in a minute. But I want to make a couple points. First, let's do the history of this, because there actually is a history of Donald Trump's interest in being added to Mount Rushmore. I know. In 2017, Donald Trump was doing a rally. This was after he had been elected president, and he said this. Every single president on Mount Rushmore, I'd ask whether or not you think I will someday be on Mount Rushmore. But here's the problem. If I did it, totally joking, the fake news media would say he believes he should be on Mount Rushmore. So I won't say it. But of course, he did say it. All right, so that was in July 2017. Now, in 2018, Kristi Noem, who at that time is the governor of South Dakota, comes to Washington and she meets with Trump in the Oval Office. And this is how she recounts that meeting. He said, Kristi, come on over here, shake my hand. I shook his hand and I said, Mr. President, you should come to South Dakota sometime. We have Mount Rushmore. And he goes, do you know it's my dream to have my face on Mount Rushmore? I started laughing. He wasn't laughing. So he was totally serious. Okay. Then we know in 2018, there was overtures, at least, by the Trump White House, according to reporting by the New York Times, that there was some interest in seeing whether this was doable. And then in 2020, Kristi Noem, who was still the governor at that point, she's now the head of the Department of Homeland Security in the Trump administration, she had Trump come for July 4th celebrations at Mount Rushmore. There was a huge fireworks display. It was a big deal, even though it was kind of in the teeth of COVID. This is July 2020. So she gave him, at that time, a 4-foot replica bust of Mount Rushmore with his face included on it. And it later came out that the bust cost the state $1,100, and Noem said she gave it to him because she knew that Donald Trump would like it, which, honestly, let's be honest, I'm sure he did like it. Now, quickly, Donald Trump is not going to be added to Mount Rushmore, because when I dug into the story back in 2018 and 2019 and 2020, the National Park Service, who runs Mount Rushmore, said there's no more room on the rock face to add another head. 4 heads is it. There's no more room. So logistically, it can't happen. So even if Congress passes this, who knows? It's not going to happen. All right. Now, the broader point here. Why does Anna Paulina Luna do this? Because she introduced this legislation. Because she knows Donald Trump will like it. That's the same reason that Kristi Noem gave him a 4-foot bust with his head added to Mount Rushmore at the cost of more than $1,000, right? Because in truth, it really is a party of one. The goal for all of these ambitious Republican elected officials is really to please Trump, right? It's to get in good with Trump. It's not really about issues or policies or stances you take. It's really about, does he like you? Do you do things to ingratiate yourself to him so that he likes you, so that he gives you things, because he said many times, I like people who like me, right? I mean, he likes TikTok now because he thinks TikTok helped him win young people. And I think that's what Anna Paulina Luna is doing here, right? She's ingratiating herself to Trump because she knows it will work in the same way that Kristi Noem did, and it did work. She's the chairman, she's the head of the Department of Homeland Security. It's a pretty big job. So I do think it's important, while you may laugh and roll your eyes at the Mount Rushmore legislation, understandably at some level, I do think it is a window into how the Republican Party currently operates. It's not really a functioning political party. It's really sort of the whims and interests of one guy and everyone else trying to sort of circle him and orbit him and get closer and closer to him, as opposed to organized around a set of party principles or policies that are important, or trying to lead on an issue here or there. It's not really about that. It's really about closeness and proximity to Trump and having Trump like you because he does nice things for people he likes. Okay? All right, everybody. Take care. Be well.